grateful that tonight, in bipartisan fashion, with overwhelming majority of votes, we passed the American Relief Act of 2025. This is a very important piece of legislation. It funds the government, of course, until March of 2025. That was a big priority for us. This is America First legislation because it allows us to be set up to deliver for the American people. In January, we will make a sea change in Washington. President Trump will return to D.C. and to the White House, and we will have Republican control of the Senate and the House. Things are going to be very different around here. This was a necessary step to bridge the gap, to put us into that moment where we can put our fingerprints on the final decisions on spending for 2025.
Welcome to Inside the Daily Gist. How are you guys doing today? December 24th, 2021. Yes, my friends, on this channel, we talk about things going on in the news, things going on the internet. If we are interested in them, we bring them on board and we talk about it. If it's something you might be interested in as well, please do not forget to join the green community at the end of this video. Yes, my friends, that was Speaker Mike Johnson. He came out to speak after they passed the emergency bill that was later brought up after the bill they had a deal on was killed by Elon Musk. Yes, you remember all the stories. That's what's going on in the news right now. So, Mike Johnson came out to tell the American people he has done his job. I am gonna play the remaining clip of his speech, but before we unpack his speech, y'all remember how this all started. This started because the GOP, they put a stop to the bill that they already put a terms on it, that it was okay. You can bring it on the floor. We are gonna vote for it. Last minute, the GOP removed their terms on the deal and they just like start everything all over again. But yeah, well, let me show y'all how Hakeem Jeffries, y'all know him? How Hakeem Jeffries, how he laid out the fight before he got to Mike Johnson saying what he is saying right now. Let's begin. Let's roll the tape from the beginning.
Democrats met earlier today, and we are resolved to continue to stand up for the best interests of the American people. House Democrats, House Republicans, Senate Democrats, and Senate Republicans reached a bipartisan agreement to fund the government, prevent a shutdown, and meet the needs of the American people. We reached a bipartisan agreement that will help farmers, families, the future of working class Americans, children, seniors, veterans, and the men and women in uniform all across the nation and the world. That bipartisan agreement has now been detonated because House Republicans have been ordered to shut down the government and hurt the very working class Americans that many of them pretend to want to help. This is a moment that's not about the incoming president. It's not about millionaires and billionaires. It's about the harm that House Republicans will do to the American people if the government shuts down. Families will be hurt. Farmers will be hurt. Everyday Americans whose lives were turned upside down by extreme weather events like hurricanes and floods and wildfires will be hurt if they don't get the relief that they need and deserve. to improve their quality of life. If the government shuts down, holiday travel will be impacted. The ability of everyday Americans to visit their family, their friends, their loved ones will be impacted. Border security and Border Patrol agents will not be paid. TSA agents will not be paid. Small businesses will be hurt in every single community in this country. This reckless Republican-driven shutdown can be avoided if House Republicans will simply do what is right for the American people and stick with the bipartisan agreement that they themselves negotiated. I now yield to our distinguished whip, Catherine Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Leader. The 118th Congress is going out just as it started. It is the GOP, the majority in the House, leading with chaos. And who is left on the sidelines? The American people. And the leader has set forth all the impacts in the short term of a government shutdown. It will impact government workers, our military families, all the small businesses and farmers and communities that are waiting for this disaster aid. It will impact our community health centers and the ability to deliver health care that is affordable and accessible. And it will rise the costs of everyday items, whether that's childcare to the groceries and the price you pay at the supermarket. And what for? Because Elon Musk, an unelected man, said, we're not doing this deal. And Donald Trump followed along. So here we are, once again in chaos. And House Democrats are going to stand together and make sure that American families' voices are heard here. Because we shouldn't even be in this situation of being on the verge of another shutdown. This is the 6th time in 2 years that the GOP has led us to this crisis. And it's all about a smokescreen for what they are truly aiming to do in the 119th. That's cut Social Security and Medicare. It is hike up the cost of prescription drugs. And it is ignoring ways to provide solutions to bring down the price of groceries and housing and childcare. This chaos does not benefit anyone except those who already have great wealth and power. And we will not benefit anyone except those who already have great wealth and power. And we will remain steadfast in fighting for the American people and delivering for them. It is now my pleasure to yield to our chairman, Pete Aguilar.
Thank you, Whip Clark. I agree with everything Whip Clark and Leader Jeffries have said. The American people are asking for bipartisanship. We delivered a bipartisan solution. Democrats and Republicans in the House and Senate coming together to negotiate a package that puts the American people first. And House Republicans have backed away from it. But this is as much about the future in the next 2 years as well. House Republicans have a choice to work with us or not. Are we truly interested in lowering the costs of childcare, groceries, making housing more affordable? That's what's at stake in the next 2 years. That's why House Democrats continue to fight for the American public and why we will not turn our back on the American people. We will not turn our back on people who are visiting national parks, people who are traveling to see their families this holiday season, people who are providing services around the country. That's what's at stake, and that's why House Democrats stand united with Leader Jeffries in advocating for a sensible, reasonable solution that gets us out of this crisis.
Questions on topic questions only.
Mr. Leader, you have said that you want to see the original deal that you had brought back to the floor. Does that mean that your caucus is ruling out a slimmed-down continuing resolution that may include disaster relief and funding for farmers, or is it only the original deal or nothing?
House Democrats reached an agreement on behalf of the American people with House Republicans that is bipartisan in nature, comprehensive, solves problems for hardworking American taxpayers, and delivers real results. House Democrats are going to continue to fight for families, farmers, and the future of working class Americans. And in order to do that, the best path forward is the bipartisan agreement that we negotiated.
Mr. Leader. Thank you, Mr. Leader. This may be a question for Whip Clark. Given the slim margins in the House, given that there's so much uncertainty, is the leadership team concerned about attendance this weekend, making sure that members are in town to vote on any type of legislation that may come forward?
You know, we are going to be here and stand together as Democrats to make sure the American people get what they need out of this. That is our focus. So yes, fundamentally, this is a difficult time for people. But what's really hard, if you are already struggling to pay your bills, and all of a sudden the aid for your small business that you thought was coming is going to not come because Elon Musk and Donald Trump decided that to inject this chaos and hardship into your life. Those are the people we care about. The military families who won't get paid. The people who are counting on their Social Security benefits arriving on time because that is their lifeline. That is where our focus is, making sure that those Americans come through this unscathed. And that's why we will remain here to get the job done for them.
Mr. Leader, Donald Trump has said that the debt limit must be addressed in this negotiation. Are you open at all in dealing with the debt limit now?
The debt limit issue is premature at best.
Mr. Leader.
Thank you, sir. If Mike Johnson puts out something that's amiable to Democrats, he may face a revolt in the House Republican conference on the speakership vote on January 3rd. Would Democrats consider voting for him in that vote if he does something amiable to you with the CR?
No.
Mr. Leader. Mr. Leader, what is it?
Sorry.
It's okay.
No, go.
To follow up, just to be clear on what you're saying here, you're not closing the door to other possible CRs. Is that correct?
We are prepared to move forward with the bipartisan agreement that we thought was negotiated in good faith with House Republicans, along with Senate Democrats and Senate Republicans, that meets the needs of the American people at this moment in time. We are fighting for everyday Americans, not for millionaires and billionaires. We are fighting for everyday Americans who will be hurt by a reckless Republican shutdown.
Mr. Leader.
Scott.
Mr. Leader, thank you. Have you spoken recently to President Biden on this fact that the deal has apparently fallen through, and when can we expect to see the president engage on the matter?
We remain in close contact with stakeholders throughout the Hill and in close contact with the current administration.
Mr. Leader, what does it say? I mean, given the fact that Elon Musk can just unilaterally cause Republicans to pull out of a deal, will this make it harder for House Democrats to negotiate? Given that you guys have negotiated in good faith this past Congress, will it make it harder for you guys to work together in the coming Congress?
House Democrats are going to continue to fight hard for families, farmers, and the future of working class Americans. That's our North Star. Pete, you want to ask?
I mean, what do you make of the role that's been off of that Musk is playing here? I mean, who is in charge, do you view, in terms of who you have to negotiate with?
That's a great question. I don't have the answers right now.
Have you been in touch with Speaker Johnson at all?
We're going to continue to maintain an open line of communication to see if we can resolve this issue on terms that are favorable to the everyday Americans that House Democrats will continue to fight for every day every week, every month.
Yes, guys, that was Hakeem Jeffries. Y'all know when Hakeem Jeffries speak, he knows how to hold them on their feet, hold the Republicans and the Democrats on their feet. Yeah, so how the back and forth started. Now imagine if we do not have Republicans, Democrats, and Independents that had as check and balance for the government. You know what I mean? This would have been a yes sir and yes ma bill that they would just pass it and sweep it under the rug. But because Republicans, sometimes Democrats do be bringing something on the floor that the Republicans have to act as, check and balance for the for the Democrats. But just on this day, it is the Republicans that need to be checked. And Hakeem Jeffries and the Republicans, some Republicans, y'all remember? Yes, and some Republicans and the Democrats, they acted as the check and balance that what is going on. That was how that started. Before this, when Hakeem Jeffries, he came out again to speak. Let's take a listen to him. This is after the bill was passed.
House Democrats have successfully funded the government at levels requested by President Biden in order to meet the needs of the American people in terms of their health, safety, and economic well-being. House Democrats have successfully fought for families, farmers, first responders, and the future of working class Americans. House Democrats have successfully fought for $100 billion in disaster assistance in order to make sure that those everyday Americans whose lives have been turned upside down in terms of hurricanes, storms, tornadoes, wildfires, floods, and other extreme weather events can get the assistance that they need to address the problems they've been confronting. House Democrats have successfully stopped extreme MAGA Republicans from shutting down the government, crashing the economy, and hurting working class Americans all across the land. House Democrats have successfully stopped the Billionaire Boys Club, which wanted a $4 trillion blank check, by suspending the debt ceiling in order to enable them to cut Social Security, cut Medicare, and cut nutritional assistance while providing massive tax breaks for the wealthy, the well-off, and the well-connected. This is a victory for the American people. We have successfully advanced the needs of everyday Americans, but there are still things to be worked on, and we look forward to that fight in the new year. Happy holidays.
They fought, and I believe, yes, they got a cave in some areas. You know what I mean? When I mean they, I mean the Democrats. I mean they have to cave because this bill that Hakeem Jeffrey is speaking on, it's not the initial bill. This is the bill, the emergency bill that they put together when they failed to pass the first initial bill. You know what I mean? So, the Republicans and the Democrats that voted on this bill, they put their, they put people first. Those that voted for this bill to be passed, put people first. Because shutting down of the government, it's a no-no. It's not because it's Christmas, but it's because people has worked. Then when farmers need money, as y'all heard what he said. So I think they eventually caved, but they saved the day. And some Republicans as well came on board to make this happen. But yeah, this is what got everybody talking. I am gonna play how Mike Johnson put his speech together after the bill was passed. Let's take a listen to Mike Johnson.
Grateful that tonight, in bipartisan fashion, with overwhelming majority of votes, we passed the American Relief Act of 2025. This is a very important piece of legislation. It funds the government, of course, until March of 2025. That was a big priority for us. This is America First legislation because it allows us to be set up to deliver for the American people. In January, we will make a sea change in Washington. President Trump will return to D.C. and to the White House, and we will have Republican control of the Senate and the House. Things are going to be very different around here. This was a necessary step to bridge the gap, to put us into that moment where we can put our fingerprints on the final decisions on spending for 2025. We also, in this bill, as you know, took care of Americans who desperately needed and deserved the assistance. We had a record hurricane season. Hurricanes Helene and Milton in particular did dramatic damage across at least 6 states, the Carolinas, the Virginia, from Florida, Tennessee, all the way through. And they have been waiting for the federal government to assist. We did that tonight in this bill. We also took care of our farmers, many of whom are on the brink of collapse because of Bidenomics, frankly, because the inflationary cost of their inputs and the inability they have right now to get loans from the banks and the lenders to put their crops in the ground, to put the seeds in the ground in the spring. So we had to take care of that, and we did. We are excited about this outcome tonight. We're grateful that everyone stood together to do the right thing. And having gotten this done now as the last order of business for the year, we are set up for a big and important new start in January. We can't wait to get to that point. We encourage swift passage in the Senate now. They need to do their job as the House just did. We will all go home. I want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Holidays, and a Happy New Year, because I hope not to see you until we get back after that. I was in constant contact with President Trump throughout this process. Spoke with him most recently about 45 minutes ago. He knew exactly what we were doing and why, and this is a good outcome for the country. I think he certainly is happy about this outcome as well. Elon Musk and I talked within about an hour ago. And we talked about the extraordinary challenges of this job. And I said, hey, you want to be Speaker of the House? I don't know. He said, this may be the hardest job in the world. I think it is. But we're going to get through this. We are going to unify this country, and we are going to bring the America First agenda to the people beginning in January. We cannot wait to get started. I hope you all have a great holiday.
Yes, my friends, you heard that right. Mike Johnson said he spoke with Donald Trump, the president-elect, and Elon Musk, the billionaire. Y'all got it? That statement right there got the internet buzzing. Got the internet going why? Like, what is he talking about? You spoke with who? With Elon Musk? What does Elon Musk got to do with this? That got a lot of people talking. That he is afraid of his job because he could not deliver to Donald Trump and Elon Musk. What do you guys think? Let's continue the conversation down there in the comment section. Who do y'all think is going to be replacing Mike Johnson? Because a lot of people say his job is at risk. So he has to try to please both Elon Musk and Donald Trump. I believe that's why he had to, give them the shout out that I spoke with Donald Trump and Elon Musk. Let's continue the conversation down there in the comment section as usual. Please, let's respect ourselves while we comment. I am glad that the government is going to be remain open, not shut, because of people that they have, worked, that they gave their service. They got to be paid. This is not a free money. This is what they've worked for. And I am so grateful that both Republicans and Democrats, they could agree on something just to keep the government rolling. I'll catch up with you guys later. Please do not forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Bye for now.